Hello and welcome to episode 120 of Driver Suit Blog Radio. As always, I'm your host, David G. Firestone. With all the havoc out of the way, normal operations have officially resumed, and I'll be doing a two-segment podcast this week. I'm going to discuss the audio issues that you're going to be hearing both last week and this week. My microphone just completely died. I did have an older microphone, but it just didn't work. I had to boost the sound so much it became almost unusable, so I'm going to be doing it through my laptop microphone until my new microphone arrives. So I'm sorry about that, but let's get to the news. First, we need to talk about Georgina. Who is Georgina? Well, let me read this article from Road and Track by Victoria Beaver, link in the description. Quote, on lap 52 of the Children's Alabama IndyCar Grand Prix at Barber Motorsports Park, a caution was thrown for easily the strangest reason so far in the 2024 season. A beloved mannequin that hangs from the bridge came untied and plummeted to the ground below just inches away from the track. The booth was quick to note that as a humanoid-shaped figure fell from the bridge that it was not a real person, but instead a, quote, piece of local racing lore, unquote, planted by track owner George Barber. Not a real person, we need to point out right away. NBC reported, this is part of the eccentric part of what populates Barber Motorsports Park. In IndyCar lore, Georgina is a crazy IndyCar fan who watches the race while hanging underneath the bridge. As Georgina's feet hit the ground, the impact reverberated up, shook the mannequin's skirt off, landing at her knees. This is not a sentence that any writer would expect to write in a racing blog, but alas, here we are. It's clear how unfazed this was towards those familiar with the sport and how lightly it was handled, but it has to be unnerving to first-time Barber viewers, both on and off the track. The 2004 rookies should be asked about their experience post-race. Now, this has been one of the most controversial weeks in IndyCar's recent history, and Georgina's leap added some much-needed levity. Now, in addition to that, Motorsport.com added some context, link in the description. Quote, a full race of action featured a bizarre moment that caught everyone off guard when a mannequin called Georgina, installed by eccentric track owner George Barber in 2016, fell from the pedestrian bridge onto the grass at the right side of the track near turn 8 on lap 52 of 90. Cars furious whipped by with Luca Giotto, Lucagiotto, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, made his IndyCar debut with the Oakland Racing, became the first to clip the hand of the doll, which was constructed of fiberglass and plastic. For reasons that escape me, IndyCar officials held off from waving a yellow for the incident, and the stray mannequin was collected by safety crews after the next caution came out 3 laps later when Stingray Robb crashed his car into the turn 1 barrier due to steering failure. Now, let me just ask a question about this mannequin installation. Is anybody shocked that this happened? I mean, come on. The guy hung a mannequin from a bridge over the track in 2016. 8 years later, the supports gave away and she fell. I mean, if you're going to do something like this, wouldn't you be checking the supports on a regular basis? Wouldn't you be replacing them if they look damaged or worn? I mean, realistically, it's a fun story, don't get me wrong, but realistically, from a safety perspective, if there had been a driver underneath Georgina when she fell, this could have caused a serious wreck, could have injured or maybe even killed the driver. And George Barber should be the one most concerned about this because he is the most to lose. Because when a wreck happens, a fatal wreck happens at your track, you're the one who's going to be held responsible. You're the one who's going to be put under the coals. You're going to be raked over the coals. You're going to be put under scrutiny. And doing something like that doesn't really help your situation. Now, moreover, let's talk about the fact that he considers this to be art. I'm not going to get into a whole debate about art. I think it should be fair that I like what I like, you guys like what you like, and we can agree to disagree. But what I think we can all agree on is that art shouldn't put other people's lives at risk. I mean, is that a reasonable middle ground? I mean, if you do something called art and it gets somebody else killed, then you're financially responsible for it. I mean, you're legally responsible for it too. Art shouldn't be dangerous, at least in my opinion, but I'm only one man. So we're going to get into another controversial discussion. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the Chicago Bears Stadium, because I've talked about this before, but a few things have happened recently that I do have to discuss in terms of the long-term issues. So it was announced by the city of Chicago a few weeks ago that there is a new Bears Stadium that's currently going to be in development on the site near Soldier Field. Now, the old Soldier Field, which looks like a traditional column stadium with a UFO on top of it, that's going to be removed. The columns themselves will be kept in place, and it's going to be turned into a park. And then there's going to be a brand new stadium built to the south of the current location. Apparently, this is expected to cost as much as $5.9 billion, and the Bears are going to be contributing $2.3 billion of that. Now, as you can expect, this announcement did not go over well with the state of Illinois. I'll get to that in a few minutes. But there is one thing in this stadium issue that doesn't seem to be addressed, even though a lot of people need it to be addressed, and that is the complete and total lack of parking. Downtown stadiums always have the issue of parking. There's not enough room for cars to park. That's why the Atlanta Braves moved to the suburbs, because they could get parking. That's why a lot of these teams are moving out to the suburbs so they can have all the parking they need, which won't drive away fans. This is never addressed in all the renderings I've seen. There's like maybe one small parking lot, but there's really not much more than that. But let's get back to the state of Illinois. As I said before, this whole proposal did not go over well with the state of Illinois. And there was a meeting between J.B. Pritzker, the Illinois governor, and the Chicago Bears. Now, according to ABC7.com, I'm going to quote their story link in the description. Quote, a spokesman for Pritzker's office released the following statement about the meeting. Quote, today Chief of Staff Ann Capara and Deputy Governor Andy Menard met with the Chicago Bears organization to discuss the team's stadium proposal. The governor's office appreciates the opportunity to discuss the Bears proposal and appreciates the organization for taking the time to discuss it. As the governor has said, the current proposal is a non-starter for the state. In order to subsidize a brand new stadium for a privately owned sports team, the governor would need to see a demonstrable and tangible benefit to the taxpayers of Illinois. The governor's office remains open to conversation with the Bears lawmakers and other stakeholders with the understanding that the responsible fiscal stewardship of taxpayer dollars remains the foremost priority. The Chicago Bears organization issued the following statement about the meeting. Quote, we had a productive conversation with the governor's office. We share a commitment to protecting the taxpayers of Illinois and look forward to further discussions. I mean, let's be honest here. Bears don't really have another option at this point. Even though the mayor of Arlington Heights has said he's still interested, their best option really is DOA at this point. And while Chicago might be even concerning to be willing to pay for a new stadium, Illinois isn't. And I frankly agree with that move. I think not giving them a stadium is a good thing. And this is also an issue because there are two other teams, the Chicago White Sox and the Chicago Red Stars. They're also bitching about wanting a new stadium for themselves. Well, here's my solution. I think that Chicago and Illinois should just tell these teams to either make do with what they have or go fuck themselves. The Bears haven't won a Super Bowl since '85, the White Sox haven't won a World Series since 2004, and the Red Stars have won fuck all of nothing since their founding in 2006. Start winning and start bringing in fans, and once you start doing that, then you can have a new stadium. Until then, make do or fuck off. The stadiums aren't the part that's driving off fans, you fucking idiots. It's the teams. Again, I just said what that Bears haven't won since '85. White Sox haven't won since 2004. Red Stars have won nothing. What they need to get brand new stadiums. Why? Why do they need a new stadium? Oh, that's right. They're spoiled little babies who they see that their friends have new toys, so they want new toys too. Well, guess what? Pay for them yourselves. You want the upgrade? Earn the upgrade. Other than that, until then, make do or fuck off. Because there's no logical reason that the state of Illinois should spend billions on new stadiums if there isn't a chance it returns. The reason that Wrigley Field got renovations was because they were going to get a return. Wrigley was widely seen by many players and even some fans as one of the worst stadiums in the history of baseball. Yet they had no problem selling tickets. The deal went through because the city of Chicago quickly figured out they were going to get a return on their investment. Yet the Bears, White Sox, and Red Stars don't seem to understand that they just don't have the clout that they think they do, especially the Red Stars. Who the fuck do they think they are? You've been in Chicago for 18 years. You've won positively, fuck all and nothing in your entire existence. You don't have a championship. You barely even do well during the regular season. But yet we're supposed to fund you a brand new stadium? Why? Oh, you don't like playing in SeatGeek Stadium? Well, justify us giving you a new stadium then. Start winning. Honest to God. Honest to fucking God. I mean, if the White Sox had even done the stadium thing in 2004 after they won the World Series, maybe you could argue that it should have gone through. But the Red Stars, a team that does nothing, wants a stadium? Are you for real? And again, it's not like they're playing in a soccer specific stadium. Where in Chicago are you just going to plop down a soccer specific stadium? The only reason that the Wrigley and Comiskey, I'm not calling it guaranteed rate. The only reason that Wrigley and Comiskey are where they are is because that was where they were built back in the day, before all the urban sprawl came up around it. United Center is where it is, which was another decision that they knew they were going to get, where the city of Chicago knew they were going to get a return on their investment, so that's why it went through. But it's just the Red Stars don't deserve a new stadium unless they're willing to pay for it and unless they're willing to do all the funding for construction. Until they start winning, they get nothing. Until the White Sox start winning, they should get nothing. Until the Bears start winning, they get nothing. Bring fans in, and then we'll give you a new stadium. Until then, make do or fuck off. And with that, I'm going to take my break, and I'll discuss a woman who is clearly in the wrong but cannot accept the fact that she's wrong. I'll be right back. Welcome back. So for the last segment, I have to discuss this story because it just proves me right again about a few things. Some people in life are in the situation they're in through absolutely no fault of their own. You know, you could be a good person, and you could get hit by a drunk driver, you could get cancer, or have an accident at work, and you're in a bad spot, but you didn't do anything to justify being in that spot. It was just a case of wrong place, wrong time. then I'll feel horrible for you. Because you know what? You deserve to be felt horrible for. Life sucks, but life sucks and it's unfair. Okay, fine. But this particular case, this particular brain genius is in a mess because of herself. She is nobody to blame but herself and can't accept the fact that she's wrong. Now, this comes from an article on Business Insider titled, quote, "A woman said her tattoos got her rejected for a job, but experts say personality is far more important," link in the description. Quote, "A TikToker was frustrated after TJ Maxx denied her application and said she thought that her tattoos were to blame. Some of her designs that are visible when she's dressed up are a skull with horns on her neck, solid black patches on her arm, and a pattern on her forehead. She also has multiple facial piercings, including a large silver ring hanging from her septum." I'm not going to mention this idiot's name, but this is a quote from her. Quote, "I hate that my tattoos were such a defining factor in me getting a job or not," she said on a recent TikTok. "Just because I have tattoos doesn't mean I'm not going to be a good worker." She went into the store and asked why she hadn't gotten the job, and the hiring manager said she didn't have enough experience. Now, the hiring manager also said that her tattoos played any role in the rejection, she said. TJ Maxx had not responded to a request for comment. Now, she wasn't convinced and went to TikTok to complain, and many commentators claimed her attitude may have been to blame rather than her tattoos. Others said that her body art likely played a role in the rejection. End quote. Now, let me just say, as somebody who has had a number of jobs in various industries, I can tell you that in a lot of instances, your physical appearance is a very important factor for applying for and getting jobs. Now, this is twice as important as getting a retail job or for any position where you are going to be interacting with the general public. In this case, she has numerous facial tattoos, which the article itself even describes as aggressive. Her arms are covered in tattoos. Her entire left arm, from like her shoulder to just above her wrist, looks like was blacked out in Sharpie. I counted at least 11 facial piercings. Try saying that 3 times fast. Hockey puck size hoops in her ears and devil horns under the skin in her forehead. Okay, she chose to do this all herself. If she had been burned in a fire and they rejected her because of her physical appearance, I'd be on her side 100%. 100%. But no, this dipshit chose to do all of this to herself. Now, I've never done this, but I have to read some of the comments on Fark.com because they're very apt and all of them have no sympathy for. We'll start with Dog Park Sniper. Quote, "I can believe it's more about personality than the tattoos. Facial tattoos say plenty about your personality without anybody having to ask." This comes from the Madman. Unsurprisingly, TJ Maxx doesn't want to hire somebody who's turned their body into a BO tapestry of bad decision-making. Dylan Thomas chimed in, "So, I want to express myself, but don't you dare judge my expression." Snarkoleptic Hoosier, "I'm sorry that corporate attitudes conflict with who you want to be, man, but you made this choice as an adult. This is a consequence of that choice." From CCNP, "I think facial and neck tattoos are a great way to show enthusiasm for manual labor." Greg in Indy was just not having any of this woman. Quote, "I've got a friend in high school with tats all over, including neck, face, who puts up all this dumb crap about tattoo discrimination. People judge you by your appearance. People judge you by your appearance. Sorry, way of the world deal. Also, middle-aged moms don't want to be served at their local retail outlet who looks like a demon's depth from hell. They just don't, and the hiring managers know that." Mr. Cranky, he went all in on this woman. "You don't get to choose the ethnicity. You don't get to choose your ethnicity or the color of your skin or your gender. You do get to choose whether to staple the entire hardware aisle of your local Home Depot to your face and then draw on it with a forever Sharpie. If you don't get good results from that stupid decision, tough. I'm of the generation where one pretty much didn't get a tattoo unless they were once in the Navy, and even the tattoo would be an anchor motif. None of my siblings have tattoos, nor my wife or any of her siblings. My kids, on the other hand, I think pretty much all of their friends are supposed to seem to have a two of one kind or another, but they at least were smart enough to put them somewhere where they were hidden by something as simple as a long sleeve shirt. Tattooing your face, though, that's just bad decision making. People of your generation might take you seriously, parentheses, might being the key here if they're not laughing behind your back. The people that are most likely to be in a position to decide whether or not to hire you are just going to try to not outwardly laugh before they throw your resume in the trash. Sorry, kid, that's how the world works. And finally, John commenter, all controllable personal appearance is a judgment call. There are a lot of qualities that one interviews for, but a pretty common one is good judgment. She's literally broadcasting her poor judgment in appearance and character. She nearly clears a job where good judgment is a hindrance. The best job for someone with devil horns is to give people other people devil horns. Now, you might be wondering, what's her social media like? Well, you can find her Instagram pretty clearly. And there's another aspect of her besides TikTok that could very easily be a detriment to being hired. Go to her Instagram. You know what potential employers might see as a detriment to hiring you? Nude photos of yourself on Instagram. Oh, and linking to your OnlyFans page, not a good idea either. I also love that on her Instagram page, she claims that she's in the top 2.4% on OnlyFans, yet needs a minimum wage job at TJ Maxx. Come on, are you really fooling anybody at this point? Here's this woman in a nutshell. She's addicted to tattoos and is addicted to attention. Neither one of which make you look good in the eyes of an employer. And having gone through many different jobs and many different interview processes and I've been through job training classes. I've had, job training in both high school, college, and even in my adult life. Here's the bottom line that this dipshit doesn't seem to understand. When you go in for a job interview, any job interview you have should consist of you trying to convince the company that you're going to work for or that you want to work for that you make good decisions, you're a responsible person, and you can be trusted. Her face and social media is all the evidence they need that you don't make good decisions. And you can say stuff like, employers shouldn't be looking at your social media posting. Yeah, they should. Yeah, they should. They absolutely should. Because if you're trying to convince a company to invest resources in you, you'd better be prepared to provide a return. I work in retail. We just fired this last week a guy who got busted for shoplifting. He was an employee, got busted for shoplifting, got fired. If you're costing the company more than than being an employee is worth, goodbye. Goodbye. The fact is, she could be the nicest, loveliest person on the planet. Her face and social media page are all the evidence they need that she doesn't make good decisions. And believe me, one look is more than enough for a hiring manager. But this is a symptom of a much larger problem. Because this is another case of the attitude that the young generation has that the rest of the world has to change to suit me and my personality and what I want. That's not how it works. When it comes to the younger generation, sometimes in life you get your ass to the back of the line and you wait your goddamn turn. The younger generation thinks that the world has to change because they say so. They've been told that they're special, that they're amazing, and the world owes them. And now many of them, after 16 years or more of making bad decisions, are learning that their bad decisions will cost them. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Social media can haunt you and fuck you over. A police record can and will haunt you and fuck you over. Your work record can and will haunt you and fuck you over. I got fired from a job. I'm never getting a government security clearance again. I'm surprised I even got it in the first place, but I'm never getting it again. Every decision you make has consequences, and every bad decision and stupid mistake can and often will come back to bite you. The world is not going to change for you. You're not special. You're not unique. You are not a ray of light in a sea of darkness. Look at your social security number and realize that's what you are to the government. Look at your employee number and realize that's what you are to the company. Look at the customer number on the various bills you get and realize that's what you are to the companies. You're not special. And for this particular woman, guess what, Sugar Plum? Your lifetime history of bad decisions just came back to haunt you. You got rejected because of your tattoos, your piercings, your ear hoops, and your devil horns. Guess what? Deal with it. The people who complain the most about these are frankly the people who put themselves in this position. Again, if she'd gotten rejected because of her appearance and she'd been burned in a fire or had a disease or something that was completely out of their control, I would be on this woman's side 100%. But her bad decisions and her stupidity and her arrogance proves that she's not good enough. Sorry. You will get rejected again. And guess what? Your appearance and attitude in social media will keep you from getting anything except factory or manual labor jobs. You made the decision to do this. Get used to it. You're getting what you deserve. You'll continue to get what you deserve, and you have nobody to blame but yourself. Nobody sees you as an amazing artist and a free spirit. They see you as a delinquent. You made the choice to look like a delinquent. People will judge you as one, and have fun looking for a job. Because if you're not qualified to work at TJ Maxx, I don't know where you can get a job. Have fun, Sugar Plum. I don't need to worry about this. You certainly do. And with that, I will finish up for this week. I did have a lot to say about AEW, but I'm going to save that for its own thing next week. I'll probably do some more racing news too. I'm not sure yet. I'm Dave Farson. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you next week.